This is the Under the Ring Report. Now, here are the masters of armchair booking, John the Flesh Wound and Cousin Tom.
Wrestling fans, it is the Under the Ring Report. Tom, how the hell are you?
I am pumped. It's Wrestlemania season.
I know, we're just a week away, and we've been talking about this for like the last month. We did our last show, which was our top 5 WrestleManias of all time. WrestleMania's been on our brain quite a bit. This week's show, we're not going to change it. We're going to be doing our favorite WrestleMania matches of all time. And the other cool thing, we've got a few of our friends who have had a chance, your son, all kind of giving us their take on their favorite matches. And then kind of a cool thing too is done some interviews over the years with a lot of superstars that have performed at WrestleMania. Plus, Tom, what else we got coming up?
We're going to hit everybody up with our predictions for WrestleMania and hot tag segment.
Oh, that should be fun this week. Okay, so we said we're going to talk about our top WrestleMania matches of all time, but if you're going to do that, you might as well start the whole show off with the biggest stinkers of all time. And I'll do you a favor, Tom, and I will start off with my least favorite match of all time. And the sad thing of it is, it involves probably one of my favorite WWE superstars of all time, Bret the Hitman Hart versus Vince McMahon in a street fight. And I mean, it was so bad. But unfortunately, part of it was because Bret Hart had his stroke and he wasn't allowed to take any bumps at all. So they kind of just went through the motions of this stuff, and Vince just kind of took it, pipes and all this other crazy stuff. And it was like 10 minutes of garbage. And I mean, it was nice to see Bret finally back in the fold with the WWE, but a man who was such a great champion for them, this was not a high point in Bret the Hitman Hart's career at all.
No, the only purpose it served was closure for Bret Hart.
Well, and
he's back in the family.
The sad part about it too was this was in 2010. Bret left almost 10 years before that. Most people were done with that crap. And that's the other thing with it. To me, that is probably my least favorite WrestleMania match of all time.
Okay, I have my least favorite match, and it's fairly recent. It was when they set the indoor attendance record at the AT&T Stadium in Dallas.
Yeah.
100,000 people. You have The Rock out there as your co-host or host of WrestleMania, and Fireflies start playing. The Wyatts come out, and Eric Rowan gets in the ring, and 6 seconds later, Eric Rowan's pinned, match over. You killed any momentum that those characters had, any build-up, all the way to the biggest show of the year, for what? A Hollywood actor who was just there to fill in as a host. 6 seconds.
Yep.
There was no reason, no point, and it was just a head-scratcher. It was one of those situations where you're like, why are they doing this? What are they thinking? What possible good does this serve? Because the person who won, you knew wasn't going to be there the next week or the following week or the week after that, and now you got these guys that just lost in 6 seconds, and you got to find something to do with them. So that's my stinker for WrestleMania.
And that's a good call there too, because unfortunately, those guys never recovered. They had to be repackaged as the Bludgeon Brothers, and we don't know what's going to happen to Bray Wyatt after Ultimate Deletion. So yeah, that really did hurt those guys for a long time after. Let's go ahead then, and let's jump right into our top WrestleMania matches of all time, as the hoopla of WrestleMania is getting close. Tom, what would you say is one of your favorite matches of all time?
I kind of did a top 3. But I just kind of went back and looked. One of my top ones, and I posted about this in our group this week on Facebook. WrestleMania 18, Hogan versus The Rock, Icon versus Icon, 2002. And, you had Hogan returning to the WWE after being in WCW. He was Hollywood Hogan, great heel character, been a heel character for several years. And the match, to me, that is one of the most interesting matches to watch. Not because of the match itself, but the environment, the crowd. They, you had Hogan come out as the heel, and before he ever got in the ring, that crowd had already decided he was not going to be the heel. He was going to be the babyface.
Yep.
And they were not going to let WWE and the writers and anyone else tell them who they were going to root for in that match. It didn't matter what they did. Hogan, even though he lost, it didn't matter. He was back as a babyface, and the NWO was pretty much done from there. Yeah. And the red and yellow came back. But that was all because those fans in Toronto refused to see him as the heel. And they loved him.
And they've been known to do that quite a bit during the course of the WWE, making trips up to Canada. So I think that's kind of funny.
Yeah, well, and when you watch that match, I mean, you can just feel the electricity coming through your TV set. I mean, it gives you goosebumps. The reaction he gets just from basic stuff. And they're all, there's 70,000 people, and every single one of them was completely into that match from start to finish. And that's what makes a great WrestleMania match for me.
Yep. Now, I like that match a lot, but one that I'll always kind of hold dear to me is the first retirement match in WrestleMania. 1991, it's the Macho King, Randy Savage, taking on the Ultimate Warrior. And it wasn't a great technical match by any means, trust me, but they told a really good story about two competitors at the top of their game, just giving it everything they had. And I mean, the thing that to me that really made me go, whoa, was I remember towards the end, Savage hit, I believe, 4 off the turnbuckle elbows onto the Ultimate Warrior, and he still kicked out, which was kind of unheard of. And I mean, now we're in a time where people are always hitting their finishers and all this crazy shit. But at that time, Savage was one of the top guys, and you didn't kick out of his move, you know? So that was something different right there for him to hit 4 of those and for the Ultimate Warrior to win. But the other reason that it was kind of one of those cool moments was, you know, at the very end, Ultimate Warrior won, and Scary Sherry comes out there and just starts berating Savage, and I believe she was kicking him and stuff, and out of nowhere, here comes Miss Elizabeth. And they had been estranged for a few years, and she comes out there and she saves the Macho Man, and they are back together. And it's kind of that you get goosebumps going, what a nice way to kind of finish that story with a Macho Man and bring him back with Miss Elizabeth, because, you know, during the late 80s, they were the royal couple of the WWE. It kind of gets me right there. I'm like, that's a great match, and not because it's technical, just because, as you said, it told a great story.
Yeah, and like you said, people didn't kick out of finishers back then.
No.
You know, if the Macho Man dropped an elbow, it was done. Of course, you know, as we know later on, the Warrior no-sold quite a bit later on, but that was a great match.
Yeah, that was.
My other choice here also is the Macho Man, and I mentioned it in our last podcast, and I'll always go back to it because I love it so much, and that's WrestleMania 3 in 1987.
Mm-hmm.
Him and Steamboat. I mean, the match that stole the show. Here we are all these years later, still talking about it. Everyone talks about it. It's one of the greatest wrestling matches in history. Yeah. And it stands the test of time. It's just two guys that at their peak were probably the two best athletes in the whole WWF at the time. Mm-hmm. You know, you think about that time in 87, you had all these guys that, I won't say the steroid binge, but were large. And you had two guys that had a physique, but it could also move and were agile. And, you know, back then, people weren't doing moonsaults off the top rope. And so if you did an elbow drop off the top or anything like that, you were considered a high flyer. It's not like today, everyone dives out of the ring. But those guys got in the ring and just put on a clinic, a complete start to finish clinic, back and forth. There was a great pace. They never relented, told the story all the way through, never stopped. You know, at the time, that was an attendance record also. And you had, 90,000 people?
Yeah.
You know, just eating out of the palm of their hands that entire match, all the way through. By far, one of my favorite matches ever. And, you know, as soon as we started talking about making this list, I had it on a piece of paper. It's like, I got to talk about it because I can't help myself.
All right, cool. I am going to go to WrestleMania 12. And as you can see, I mean, I like Bret Hart a lot, okay? I'll put that right out there. But the Iron Man match with Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 12, it's another one of those that tells a great story, but it's also one of those kind of firsts, because WrestleMania main event was an hour for the Iron Man match, okay? And this was just pure wrestling. Not, you know, all the little goof moves, but more of a technical wrestling match with two of the great technicians of their time. And I mean, for that thing to go 60 minutes and then go to overtime, and for Shawn Michaels to win his very first WWE championship, everyone, when WrestleMania season comes, you always hear it, the boyhood dream has come true for Shawn Michaels. You hear that all the time. So it's always, it's just ingrained in your head. But that match and the storyline that it told, I wasn't watching much wrestling at that time. But you know what? I made a point to watch WrestleMania every year, even if I didn't follow the rest of the stories. And I remember finishing watching that just going, damn, they have really changed what they're doing in professional wrestling. Because those two were doing something that Hogan couldn't do, that, the Warrior couldn't do, any of those guys. They were putting on a wrestling clinic, and they let them do that for an hour. No gimmicks, no anything else. It was just two guys battling out, telling a great story about how here's a guy, Shawn Michaels, came up from the tag team just like Bret Hart. Two guys trying to become the top of the company. And for Bret Hart to be that top guy and Shawn to elevate himself to the same level as Bret Hart, those two guys led that company for quite a few years. So that there was kind of the start of that to me. And that's why I like that match.
Here's my, it's not my last one, but this was my number one.
You have more?
Oh, yeah. I could go on for days, Yeah, thank God we have listeners who are WrestleMania nuts like we are, because I could just keep going, but all I wrote down for my number one is Shawn Michaels. That's my number one.
Okay.
And the reason being is, as you go back and you look, you always hear Mr. WrestleMania, the main event, all his nicknames. But then you start laying it out, all the matches the man's been in. And yet there's some stinkers in there. There was WrestleMania 9 versus Tatanka. When he was with the Rockers, they had to face the Barbarian and Haku one year. El Matador, Tito Santana. I mean, there's been some in there. You just mentioned 12 with Bret Hart. That was one of them.
Yep.
You got the birth of the Attitude Era with Austin and Mike Tyson as special guest referee. The triple threat with Benoit and Triple H.
Hold on. You're forgetting probably the most important match.
Oh, no. I have not.
No, I'm not. I'm not talking about what you think is the most important match. I'm talking about a match earlier in his career, before those matches you just mentioned.
Okay.
You can't forget the ladder match, man.
That's the one I was leading to.
The godfather of ladder matches, man. I was worried.
Thunder.
I thought you were going Undertaker, Sean. Come on.
Well, I mean, how can you not? But that one there is one of my top ones. I mean, and I'm a Ric Flair guy. You had the career threat. I mean, I could go on and on. But the birth of the ladder match for the Intercontinental title versus a bigger opponent, Razor Ramon, that match, you had the iconic, we see it every year, coming down on the zip line.
Yep.
With music playing, and McMahon's on the announce name. My God,
Yep.
HBK, and that match, look what that match has led to. Look at all the ladder matches. Look at Money in the Bank. There's no Money in the Bank without that ladder match.
There have been no TLC without that ladder match first happening.
Exactly. That match was fantastic. It was innovative. I remember watching it thinking, that was, 94? And so I'm already, I'm in college by then. I'm not really paying a lot of attention to wrestling this time. I'm out of it. I was like you. I weaned off. And so that middle part of Shawn Michaels' career, I didn't follow that closely. I remember him with the Rockers. I always remember him throwing Janetti through the barbershop window. But after that, I kind of, I had other things going on. And when I caught a glimpse of that, I'm like, whoa, what the heck is that? They never did that when I watched wrestling. And I got back into it a little bit after that. And then we started, a few years later, the Attitude Era blooms and WCW and all that stuff kicks in. And then I started watching again. But that match to me is on a timeline. It's got to have like a star next to it, because from that match, so many other things wouldn't have happened if that match would not have ever taken place.
Well, there's a lot of WWE superstars right now that say that match is one of the reasons they decided to become professional wrestlers. So Shawn Michaels influenced so many people, and I'm with you, because when you start ticking down the list of what Shawn accomplished during his time in the WWE, holy cow, so many matches. You look at anyone's top 25, Shawn's probably in there 7 times, maybe even more.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I mean, you didn't even get into the Chris Jericho Shawn Michaels matches.
I know.
Every time you think about it, there's another match you're like, oh shoot, I forgot that one. But he had so many great matches with people. Sometimes you forget about it and take it for granted.
And I'll give him another props too. One of my other favorite matches, he's involved, but he's not the main player. He's a special guest referee. And that's the Hell in the Cell with Triple H and The Undertaker.
Yeah.
The end of an era.
Yep, that's right.
That was an awesome match. He played a part. And at the end, where they're up on the stage together, going back in the curtain, that was a great moment too. So, I mean, the man's been a part of 20 plus years of memories.
Yeah. I've got two, though. So one that comes out on the radar, and I talked about it a couple weeks ago, but it's always going to be WrestleMania 17, and that's the Hardys versus Dudleys versus Edge and Christian. And I mean, that's one of the reasons the Dudley Boys are going into the Hall of Fame. That match, as you were talking about Shawn Michaels, that match started a whole other genre of wrestling for the WWE, because those guys put TLC and tag team wrestling on the maps. And if all three of those teams aren't in the Hall of Fame when it's all said and done, then something is drastically wrong with how they do that.
Yeah.
Because those guys, head and shoulders above anything else. I mean, and of those guys, I mean, Edge, Matt, and Jeff all did really great in singles careers. Christian was okay, but I mean, for Edge to be a Hall of Famer just on his single career, but those two we'll get into. But just a phenomenal match. One of those that you'd never, you know, they did it at, what was it, Survivor or SummerSlam? They did it previous, was the very first TLC. But this was the first time on the grandest stages of them all. And wow, it was just one of those moments. The other one, and you can call me a cop-out or whatever, but it's still right there. We talked about it before too, but Macho Man and Steamboat, WrestleMania 3.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
that there, I mean, to me is where I would put probably my top 3.5, because I guess I picked 2 there. But I know I can't count sometimes because, like you said,
hey, that's all right.
Well, in a way, we can go against you too because you picked all of Shawn Michaels' matches.
Well, that's true. I did cheat, but like you said, it is our show.
Yep. So right now, the cool thing is we decided to get a hold of some of our friends, some of the listeners on the show, and ask them what their top WrestleMania matches of all time were. So with that, let's go ahead and take a quick listen and hear what everyone else thinks and see how different they are from our thoughts on WrestleMania. All right, and one of our special guests this week as we're celebrating WrestleMania. Tom King, thank you very much for being with us.
Yeah.
And we've been asking folks the question, what is your favorite WrestleMania match of all time?
Well, I haven't watched all of the WrestleManias, but I think I have to go really old school and go back to WrestleMania 3. And no, it wasn't Hogan picking up the Giant and body slamming him. It was the Randy Savage, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat match.
Okay.
I was a mark for both of those guys back in the day. I thought Savage's interviews were so off the wall and cool. And let's face it, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, I think you could make the argument he might be the greatest wrestler of all time. He could drag anybody to a great match, and he did it with any number of people.
Well, and you were lucky, too, because living up in Wisconsin, you got to see him in the AWA before he made his way there. So, I mean, the guy's been doing that for a long time. But what's surprising is your match has come to the top of at least 3 other people we talked to. Yeah. So that is a very big popular opinion with the folks for that.
I'm here with Cameron. Cameron's 11 years old, and he's a wrestling fan. Say hi, Cameron.
Hi.
Okay, we're talking about our favorite WrestleMania matches, and I thought, what better idea than to ask a kid what he likes about WrestleMania. What's his favorite match? Because we were all kids once, and that's the reason we're doing this podcast now, is we like wrestling. Who's your favorite wrestler?
Roman Reigns.
Roman Reigns. Okay, and we all know.
I know. Boo.
That's right. Boo from Dad. Yay from Cameron. So, what is your favorite WrestleMania match?
Roman Reigns versus The Undertaker.
Okay, and that was just last year.
Which, I don't know which WrestleMania that was.
That would have been 33, I believe, because this is 34. So, and what do you remember about that match?
I remember that there was like 20 pins. There was just a bunch of finishers taking place, tombstones, Superman punches, and it was just pretty much a brutal beatdown on both guys. And I remember in that match when Undertaker couldn't even stand up, he was so shaken up by what was happening.
So, and what did you think? Did you expect the Undertaker to win?
I thought it was very shocking that Roman Reigns won.
You did, even though you're a Roman Reigns fan?
Yes, because Brock Lesnar won who first beat him, and WrestleMania is really good and has more experience than Roman Reigns. And
the Undertaker really good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he does have more experience. So that's why you were surprised that Roman Reigns won?
Yeah, I knew he had a chance, but I wasn't surprised if he lost.
All right, another guest joining us here on the Under the Ring Report. And, Balky,
Listen here, brother.
I have to thank you. I know you really don't pay attention to wrestling at all.
Not anymore.
But that's kind of why I want to talk to you, though, because considering the bits and pieces that hit mainstream media, That's why I want to kind of talk to you on what you think your favorite WrestleMania match of all time was.
Match-wise, I don't remember a lot about matches. I just remember back when I was high school, we'd get the pay-per-views, and you'd see Hulk Hogan out there. You'd see, what was it, Sting?
Yep.
Sting was one of them. And I just remember, why can I never get that guy, his little thing out of my head when he goes, woo! Is he still alive?
He is still alive.
Ric Flair is still around.
He almost died last year, but he's still alive.
Well, woo, he didn't.
That's right. ESPN even did a documentary about him.
Wow.
So there you go.
Wow. But
Yep.
yeah, I do remember some of the iconic ones, of course, Hulk and Randy Savage. He was passed now.
Yep.
But yeah, a lot of the good ones were back in the day. Now I don't even know.
So, Terry, we've actually had you on 2 weeks in a row, which is like a first in a long
You
time.
must be desperate for guest commentators.
It's WrestleMania week, and we need people that know what they like about WrestleMania. So this week, it's your favorite WrestleMania match.
I think, okay, I know I'm going to be that guy right now. Okay, from a nostalgia standpoint, the first WrestleMania that I can remember buying and watching as a kid, that Warrior Hogan match, technically pure trash, but nostalgically, I still mark out for it.
Okay.
But from a pure spectacle, execution, just an incredible match. It comes from what is, without a doubt, my favorite Mania, WrestleMania X7. Great front to back. The freaking tables, ladders, and chairs match between the Hardys, the Dudleys, and Edge and Christian. Dude, quit it. Just the most... I mean, every single competitor in that match took years off of their careers competing in that thing, man. I mean, I fully blame Edge's neck injury on all, probably from that spear spot that he did to Jeff Hardy when Hardy was hanging from the ropes. Oh my God, just incredible match. And that was on a pretty stacked freaking card. I would have said Austin Rock if it wasn't for the fact that it had such a screwball finish. That ruined what was an epic match. But, dude, TLC 2 with the Hardys, the Dudleys, and Edge and Christian. Dude, find a better match. Fight me, bro. There isn't one. For real. Great match.
This is the internet, so someone may find you.
All right. Well, it was great to hear everyone's WrestleMania memories. Everyone has their own idea of what makes a great WrestleMania memory. The nice thing is we can all agree that WrestleMania is one of those things that something special always tends to happen.
Yep.
And you just don't know what it's going to be. You just have to tune in and watch. It may not be the main event card. It may be the opening act. I would like to see it happen on a pre-show once in a while because that hasn't happened. But you just never know. You have to just tune in and watch. So
you didn't like Mojo winning the Andre last year?
No, I can use less Gronk and more Pete Rose. That's my opinion.
There you go, man. Now, the cool thing is over the last 20-some years, I've had the chance to interview plenty of WWE superstars who have participated in WrestleMania. So right now, I'd like to play little excerpts of some of those interviews as they talk about their experience at WrestleMania. So let's listen to some excerpts of interviews I've conducted with Nikolai Volkov, King Harley Race, Brian Blair, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and the late, great Jimmy Snuka.
Tell people about the first WrestleMania, how that was to be there.
It was great. First WrestleMania, me and myself and Iron Sheik, we won the belts from Mike Ritondo and Barry Windham. It was we still have a manager, Fred Blassie, who was, is just one of the best, one of the best, manager you can find at the time. And it was great. It was great. I always love when you have a good crowd to go wrestle in front. Big crowd is beautiful. It's easy and I enjoyed it.
Well, I was going to ask you too. Is you had a chance to wrestle in WrestleMania when it was at the Pontiac Silverdome?
It's no different than wrestling. Well, I shouldn't say no different. Of course it is. But I wrestled sold out buildings throughout my lifetime a lot of times. It was a pretty good rush to walk out there. They drove us out there on golf carts. That was unique. And to know that you had made history there by drawing the largest indoor crowd for any sport. It was great.
Oh, I bet.
And being one of the top 3 featured matches was also great.
Now, WrestleMania, the big granddaddy of all pay-per-views for the World Wrestling Federation. As you said, you've competed in them. Tell us a little bit about the atmosphere, the feelings behind it. How hyped up did you get when you knew you were coming to this big pay-per-view?
Well,
I just I didn't know how big it was going to be until I actually got there.
Okay.
I mean, I remember going into the Silver Dome, and of course, we were part of all the hype. We did pre-tapes and all that stuff, and we knew that the event was sold out. But until you actually get in front of 90,000 people, until you actually, my wife was up in they had a special box for the wrestlers' spouses, and I walked up prior to the show and went up where my wife was sitting, and it looked like little ants crawling around almost. It was just unbelievably huge. I mean, you can imagine the Silverdome just sold out, but then to have the whole football field totally sold out too, with just the ring in the middle. I mean, it was and to have Aretha Franklin there and Bob Uecker and all those guys. I mean, and they were such fans, and it was just fun.
So at WrestleMania 3, the 94,000 people back in an all-time indoor record audience. And I think we still hold that record. We had 94 Hulk against Andre the Giant. So the next year we were at the Toronto Sky Dome, and we get 69,000. It was like, oh, no.
And you've competed in numerous WrestleManias. You were there at the very first one.
Right.
And just kind of tell the fans out there the atmosphere, how it was to participate in that, and just, your feelings.
Brother, when that first happened, the WrestleMania first came out, it's such an excitement, such a good feeling knowing that you're going to be involved in it. Mm-hmm. And, like I said again, being at the Madison Square Garden, that's a highlight in itself.
Definitely.
And, I was really looking forward to that. I was training hard and really looking forward to this WrestleMania, and it was quite a great feeling for me to be involved in it. And
it was nice to having all these former wrestlers on the show, giving their thoughts and memories about WrestleMania. And while we're on WrestleMania, why don't we start talking about our predictions for this year's show?
So, who do you think, Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns?
Well, is Lesnar going to stick around? They're talking about him going back to MMA fighting again, so I'll go with Roman Reigns.
Okay, and then in the other championship, AJ Styles and Nakamura.
That should be a pretty good match, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's go with AJ Styles in that one.
Okay, and then we'll go the women's championship match, Flair versus Asuka.
Well, I thought that Charlotte was injured and might not be able to go.
It was just a dental thing. She'll be wrestling.
She'll be wrestling? Well, she's going to win that.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
And then our last one is the one which everyone's going to talk about, but it's Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle.
I thought Cena and The Undertaker.
Well, it's still not a thing yet.
Right.
But Ronda Rousey and Angle versus Triple H and Stephanie.
Don't you think what's best for business is Angle and Ronda Rousey winning?
All right.
They're going to win.
Okay. All right, man. Thank you very much for your time.
What do you think will happen this year at WrestleMania?
First of all, since I was talking about how Brock Lesnar has more experience, again, I don't think Roman Reigns might win this one. But I'm not going to doubt him since he beat Undertaker.
All right. That sounds good.
Who's the woman that just got over from the UFC?
That's what I'm going to
Ronda Rousey.
That's what I was going to say. So you know about Ronda Rousey.
I have seen some videos on her on social media.
She's wrestling, and the only other person you may know is Brock Lesnar.
And I know Brock, too. But I suppose Ronda hasn't lost yet, right? Because nobody beats up on a woman.
She hasn't even wrestled yet.
Oh, okay.
Her first match will be at WrestleMania.
Well, maybe that's the one I'll watch for once.
There you go. It'll probably be all over the media outlets and everything for you.
I'll give her a big, woo! Ronda Rousey, let's go!
All right, Balky, thank you for your time. So who do you got, Lesnar versus Reigns?
You know what? I'm bucking convention. I think that Lesnar is going to walk away with the belt because WWE is going to keep on trolling us, and they're going to give this dude the belt, and he's just going to disappear for another year and a half and do the UFC thing, and everybody else gets to fight for the opportunity to maybe face Brock someday. I am cynical enough, and I'm bucking convention. Brock Lesnar walks away with the strap.
You're the only one to take that.
That's right, and when I'm right, the rest of you are going to be crying.
Okay. Who do you got? AJ Styles and Nakamura.
Oh, man.
It's going to be a good match.
You know what? After this year, I'm sorry. My apologies to the Hardys, Edge and Christian, and the Dudley boys. That might end up being my favorite match. My son and I are just marking out so hard for this. Oh, man. I'm going to be optimistic here and drop my cynicism. I want to see Shinsuke Nakamura win this one.
Okay.
I think it's time for Strong Style to put knees to face and take AJ Styles down a peg.
Alrighty.
Because AJ Styles, that soccer mom hair, nah, it's time, dude. It's time to change that up.
Okay, then we go to the Women's Championship for SmackDown. So Charlotte and Asuka.
Asuka.
All right.
Got to be Asuka. However,
That was easy.
I will qualify this. I will qualify this by saying after Asuka wins the belt, Carmella is going to cash in her Money in the Bank, and she is going to break Asuka's streak and get nuclear heat. Heat. I don't want to see it, but I have a feeling I'm going to see it. But
I can't let that happen.
Asuka will take the title before that happens.
All right, and then the final one I'm going to ask you, and it's pretty much there for one reason, to get as many eyeballs on WrestleMania as possible. Angle and Ronda Rousey versus Triple H and Stephanie. Will Triple H bring the shovel to the match?
This is the only opportunity that the WWE has had in a long time to have Stephanie McMahon finally get some comeuppance for all the dastardly heel stuff she's done. If they squander, and that is what it will be, if they squander this opportunity to bury yet another member of the women's roster with shenanigans, that will be an epic fail. I hope, for the sake of good storytelling, that Ronda and Kurt Angle go over Triple H and Stephanie. And Stephanie... when was the last time she got her comeuppance? I think it was Vicky Guerrero pushing her into mud.
Time ago.
Yeah, man. Look, I get it. You're the bad guy. We dislike you because you're really good at playing a bad guy. But the bad guy has to get his or her ass kicked once in a while. That's what made Bobby the Brain Heenan so amazing. You know, he'd come in, he'd talk smack, he would do all sorts of dastardly things, but then you see him dressed in a weasel suit because he lost a match. You got to get your comeuppance sometime. That's part of the gig, man. If you can't do it at Mania, fine. Do it at SummerSlam, I guess. But at some point, Ronda Rousey needs to wreck Stephanie's business.
All right, man. Happy WrestleMania to you.
Happy WrestleMania to you. Oh, and by the way, happy Rusev Day.
All right, I want to thank Balky, Tom King, Cameron, and Scary F and Terry for giving us their opinions on who they think are going to win at WrestleMania. And also, I want to give you a quick report on some of the polls we ran on Facebook and Twitter from you, the fans, on who you think is going to be the winner of some of these important matches at WrestleMania. When we're looking at the Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon, 59% of you think that Owens and Zayn are going to go over. Jumping over to the Raw Women's Championship, I think everyone pretty much is in agreement that Nia Jax should be the winner. 76% of you think she's going to beat Alexa Bliss. On the Rousey and Angle match versus Triple H and Stephanie, another landslide. 80% think that Rousey and Angle will end up winning that match, so that's kind of interesting there. Looking at the Intercontinental Championship match, 52% of you think that Seth Rollins will be the winner of that three-way match. And then looking at the SmackDown Women's Championship match, another landslide. 75% of you believe that Asuka will beat Charlotte for the SmackDown Women's Championship. And then taking a look at the two men's championship matches, 59% of you believe that Nakamura will beat AJ Styles, and 86% of you believe that Roman Reigns will win the Universal title. So thank you very much for taking part of those. And now let's get to Tom and I's predictions for WrestleMania. How about we start off with a couple easy ones? Who do you think might win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal?
Does it matter?
It doesn't matter, but you know what? It's still a prediction, man.
I don't even know who's all in the thing.
Doesn't matter. All right, I'm going to tell you. All right, here's who I think's going to win it. Big Cass comes back and he wins it.
Oh, he just got cleared, didn't he?
He did. That's my call.
That's a good call, probably.
Okay.
I don't even know. God, I can't even think of anybody. I don't care. There's that trophy, and someone's gonna break the trophy. I know that much. So that's my prediction. I don't care.
Okay. What about the women's battle royal?
Women's battle royal? I wouldn't mind seeing Becky Lynch win that.
Hey, you know what? I agree with you. I think she hasn't had a big enough push, and she needs to be put back out there, and this could be the way to do it. So looking down the list, let's talk about the SmackDown tag team titles. Usos, New Day, Bludgeon Brothers. Who you got?
I would really like to see the Usos keep it. I want them to have a WrestleMania moment. I think those two guys, what they've done this whole year, and especially their rivalry with the New Day.
Sorry, man. I'm all about the pancakes, baby. I'm all about the pancakes. Yeah.
Oh, you're about the pancakes.
It's the New Day. That's what I want. What about the United States title match? Bobby Roode, Randy Orton, and I believe, I'm going to go on a limb, Jinder Mahal will be in it too. I know it hasn't been announced as we're recording this, but you can see where this is going.
Yeah, I'm going Bobby Roode.
I think so too. Bobby, I think, needs that push. I don't see Jinder getting the title right now. And Orton, it doesn't matter. Orton's at that point in his career. He doesn't need a title. Then we've got the Raw tag team titles with the Bar taking on Strowman and I guess a tag team partner of his choice. Who do you think's going to win? And do you want to take a bet?
Win?
Yeah.
Or who do I want to bet is going to be the tag team partner?
Well, I was looking at winning, but if you want to give me both, that's fine.
Okay. I'm going to say Strowman's going to come up short. They're not going to give the title to one guy.
Okay. And who do you think might be his partner?
You think they'll trot Jeff Hardy back out there?
For Strowman?
Just to throw him out there.
I know you want him. I'd say no. But
I don't.
I would like to see Braun win. And I'm going to go out on a limb. We'll see if I'm right. But I'm going to guess that his tag team partner is going to be the Big Show.
Oh, I forgot about the Big Show.
Oh, yeah. Because the Big Show keeps showing things on Facebook and Instagram, how he's working out, getting in better shape. Someone said he'd retired, but I don't know. Maybe that's a work. And maybe he's got one last WrestleMania. I don't know. So
that'd be neat to see.
Yeah. All right. Raw women's title match. Nia Jax, Alexa Bliss. Who do you think?
I think Alexa finds a way to keep it.
Do you? I kind of think they give it to Nia just because of the way this story's been going. I mean, what a perfect way for Nia, who's been fighting for the last year and a half? And she keeps getting the short end of the stick, even though she is probably the biggest threat to that division. Maybe finally she wins it because of all the stuff that she's been put through. Just my thought, though.
I think Bliss finds a way to cheat and keeps her title.
Okay. I've got another one of those do I really give a shit matches, but who do you think wins the Cruiserweight title? Cedric Alexander or Mustafa Ali?
I'm going to go with Mustafa Ali. I tend to like him more than
I do, too.
Alexander.
I'm with you. Let's see here. Intercontinental title. Rollins, Balor, and Miz. Who you got?
I think it's Seth Rollins. They're going to push him some more.
I think you're right. I think that night, a few weeks ago on Raw really opened up a lot of people's eyes. Yeah, I'm with you. I think that might be a nice thing to do. And that also gets Miz off the Intercontinental title so they can send him to SmackDown to have a feud with Daniel Bryan in my dreams. Okay, this hasn't been announced yet, but we all know where this is going. Cena, Undertaker.
I'm thinking they're going to give Undertaker one last win
and so wrap it up. So he can finally say that I'm done.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go Cena. And the only reason is because if you've noticed, this has been like a Cena kind of like he's sort of heelish. What better way?
Bit.
You know what I mean? What great thing if Cena just goes full heel at WrestleMania and destroys The Undertaker finally and sends him off,
Like it's Cena with snarky sarcasm.
Yeah, so I don't know. But I wouldn't mind seeing him win. It doesn't really matter to me. Rousey and Angle, Triple H and Stephanie McMahon.
Oh, there's no way they're not going to get Rousey get a win at WrestleMania.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you on that one. What about our SmackDown Women's title? Charlotte versus Asuka.
That's going to be a good match, no matter what.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And I'm going to say Asuka wins.
Yeah.
And then I'm figuring there's some Money in the Bank cash in somewhere.
She's been trying to cash that damn thing in for like the last month.
Well, that's all a tease. If you notice, they always make sure they botch it so she doesn't actually cash it in.
Yeah.
So,
but I don't see her beating anybody. I mean,
no. But here's what I see.
Okay.
Here's what I'm guessing. I'm guessing that Asuka wins. Somehow Rousey comes in, does something to set up a Rousey and Asuka angle, and beats up Asuka and leaves, and then she makes the cash in for the because she's not going to beat anybody one-on-one.
No, she's
not. So it's going to be like the old opportunist Edge. Wait till they're down, throw in your thing, get your title, run out.
Yep. Alrighty. I'll go with Asuka also. It just seems the story's been pushing that direction, and that's the best way to just keep it going. WWE title match, Nakamura and AJ Styles.
Oh man, I don't think we're gonna lose either way.
I know
on that one. I'm gonna stick with Styles, but I think that match is gonna be great.
I think I'm gonna stick with Styles too. I don't know if Vince is ready to put the belt on Nakamura yet. Because I mean he's just started pushing him after the Royal Rumble win.
Right.
Because before that they didn't know what the hell they were doing with him. So I don't know if he'd be willing to put that title on him just yet. Universal title match, Reigns and Brock Lesnar. This pretty much should be a no-brainer.
Yeah, Reigns.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, but are they going to throw a swerve? Because remember, we thought Brock was going to lose the title a few months ago,
yes,
and they swerved everybody. So I don't know. He could somehow walk out the winner and then maybe lose it Monday night. I don't know, but
that's true. That's true. There's always that Monday night after.
Because that's what I'm looking. They have a precedent now where Lesnar may not lose. I don't get it, but I for the first time, I hope Reigns does win. That's all I got to say about that. And we appreciate everyone's help in putting together the WrestleMania episode here. It's been a lot of fun, but we're not quite done yet, right, Tom?
Not yet. Almost.
It's time to hit the hot tag here on the Under the Ring Report.
By God, it's a hot tag!
All right, so let's go ahead and jump into this edition of the hot tag. As we said, it's going to have a WrestleMania theme, but I would be remiss if I didn't throw this name out there also because of what's just happened, Daniel Bryan.
Yes. And I'm going to say he's going to tag with Shane against Sammy and Kevin Owens.
Yep, probably a good call.
So overall, we've had, 3 years with him out of the ring?
2015 was the last time he wrestled. Tag match with Cena, I believe.
They finally announced he's clear. I watched SmackDown. I'll be honest, it's the first time I watched SmackDown all the way through in probably 6 months.
Road Dogg thanks you.
Yeah. Yeah, he should. Just to see what was going to happen with his character on there. And I've never seen a building go crazy over a guy doing drop kicks in the corner in a pair of blue jeans, no less.
Well, you know what I noticed too? He is more over than probably 90% of that roster, and the guy hasn't wrestled in that long. So
yep,
that's a big get for the WWE.
Yeah, I was completely happy when I heard that. Keeping on the hot tag, Bray Wyatt.
Bray Wyatt has been deleted. Here's my thought on that, though. I think that was a great thing. Ultimate deletion, if you didn't understand it, you don't get it, I'm sorry. But as a wrestling fan, and there's been a lot of goofy shit that has happened in professional wrestling, and you can't hold your nose up to Ultimate Deletion and not remember all the other crazy stuff that's happened. So to me, it was a perfect story. They did a great job. I think the one in TNA was a little better, but here's what I think is going to happen with Bray Wyatt. You're going to see Bray Wyatt come back as a face. I think we're going to get the fedora wearing, Hawaiian shirt wearing, white pants Bray Wyatt when he first came into the WWE and was always singing he has the whole world in his hands, because there was a point where if WWE had said, okay, let's go full face Bray Wyatt, he could have been probably one of the top guys in the company. And instead, they decided to push him down this spiral of more of a satanic cult leader evil thing. And then they kind of just didn't know what the hell to do with him. So I have a feeling this was a great thing. And Bray could come back and be one of the biggest baby faces in the company. I'm hoping. But Ultimate Deletion, Bray Wyatt, kudos. Great job, guys. This is sort of WrestleMania just because it's going on at the same time. But your thoughts on the Mixed Match Challenge?
Well, I'll be completely honest with you. I haven't watched one of the Mixed Match Challenges.
I believe there's a lot of people doing the same thing as you.
And the only thing I have followed, and I wouldn't even say I followed, I've seen more about the storylines between the performers out of the ring than I have with the performances in the ring. They keep throwing out the Bliss and Strowman sexual tension stuff and things like that, and I'm at that point where I truly don't care.
Yeah, like I said, I think there's a lot of people that feel the same way, man. So.
And, and the thing is what they did is probably a good idea, but not to promote Facebook. I mean, if they would have just done that as a regular, just something on the show on Raw, you would have had, a Mixed Match Challenge. I think people would have ate it up.
But they're trying to help Facebook and doing this investment and stuff to see if it's worth, because the talk is, see if it's worth doing a WWE show on Facebook.
Well, I get that, because they're looking at options as far as, we don't have a network TV deal anymore. I mean, not like it used to be where it was ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox.
Yeah.
Everyone's looking for the next, what's going to come next. You have Chromecast and all these different, streaming ways to watch media. So I get what they're trying to do, and I understand what they're trying to do, but I think they picked the wrong thing to do it with. If you want to promote something like that, you need something. They tried to take a unique idea and do it, but they should have done something that had more of a demand. Throw a title match on there that means something that people want to watch, and you're going to get more people watching.
Yep. I agree, man.
Okay, I'll tell you. I've got one for you. The Forgotten Man, the guy that at one time had a push, has one of the biggest pops I ever heard for Money in the Bank cash-in ever. And that's Dolph Ziggler.
Dolph Ziggler, to me, Dolph Ziggler's character has been the same character for like the last 5-6 years. And I'm at the point where I really don't care about Dolph Ziggler. As far as I'm concerned, maybe Matt could call him and wrestle him and throw him in the Lake of Reincarnation and bring him back as the freaking Spirit Squad idiot. And that's just me, because I felt that this whole thing where he dropped the U.S. title and then showed up at the Royal Rumble, it just makes no sense. And I'm not invested. I don't care. Dolph's a great wrestler. Don't get me wrong, but unfortunately with his character and what WWE's done with it over the years, I'm not invested. There's a lot better wrestlers out there that deserve the title and deserve a push than he does. So sorry, Dolph, maybe you can just help put up more young talent over or whatever you're doing, but as a top tier leveled wrestler, I don't see it, man. They've let you lose way too many times to a lot of these NXT guys, and I think the shine's worn off, and I just don't care anymore.
I agree completely. The polish is off.
And with that, it's going to do it for this week's show as we anxiously await WrestleMania. Now, we will get together after the big show and break down what we liked and didn't like of the show, and maybe we'll talk about some big surprises and whatever. And we look forward to talking to you guys after the big WrestleMania 34 show coming up here in a couple weeks on the Under the Ring Report.
Hello, wrestling fans. This is the Honky Tonk Man, the greatest WWF Intercontinental Champion of all time, and you're listening to Under the Ring Report.
Follow the Under the Ring Report on Twitter at UTRR Podcast. You can subscribe to the Under the Ring Report on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher, or visit undertheringreport.com. Thanks for listening to the Under the Ring Report.